Hello there, Romans here and welcome to another installment in my Worst to Best series where I take a discography of a certain group and I rank all of their studio albums going from worst to best based on my own personal opinion. So in case you want to get familiar with a certain group and you don't know where to start or which record to pick as the first one, these videos are a pretty good guidelines for you. I also review all the albums from a viewpoint of a musician, as I am a singer, songwriter and a bass player for my own group Jakobe, and in April we have released our debut album called Pursuits in Life. What makes the album unique is that it's a pretty heavy prog rock music without guitars. Instead you have drums, bass, saxophone and keyboards. You can check out the first single, We're Building Our Own Monument, on my YouTube channel, and in the description of that video you will find out all the information about where's the record available. It's available on all digital platforms like Spotify, Tidal, Deezer, iTunes, Amazon, but also in this digipack version of a CD with a very beautifully illustrated 20 pages long booklet. And today I'm going to rank all the studio albums from Great White.
Music review. Music review.
Even before I start, let me just say that I love Great White. I love this band so much. Great White had their share of success in the late 80s. They had 2 albums that went platinum, but it seems like Great White never really got into the same league as Bon Jovi or Aerosmith or pretty much every other famous rock group, and they never got the recognition they deserved for their work because some of their records belong to the best stuff I've ever heard. I love their music a lot. This video is going to be unique compared to the other worst to best videos that I've made because I'm going to include some music samples. Without further ado, let's rank all the studio albums from Great White. So as I just said, it's going to be just their 13 studio albums. So let's start. At number 13 I have Full Circle from 2017. This is as of now the latest album from Great White and the second one with their new singer Terry Lewis. Honestly, Full Circle is a record that in my opinion is as forgettable as it can get. This record kind of feels just like an excuse to have a tour and to have some material with Terry Lewis, who, don't get me wrong, he's a great singer and I really love the band he came from, XYZ, their first 2 records, especially the second one was fantastic, but this record just doesn't really do it for me. It's very average, kind of blues rock, hard rock. Cry of a Nation is a pretty cool song.
This trail of tears just can't go on. I hear the cry of a nation. I see your tears, I see us again.
And Big Time is kind of badass rock track.
So are you ready for the big time? Ready for the spotlight? Are you gonna show the world just who you are?
But that's it, let's move on. At number 12 I have the preceding album, Elation from 2012. This was the first album with Terry Lewis behind the mic. He actually isn't part of the band anymore. They have Mitch Malloy as a singer. I mean, what's going on with the band? Elation suffers from pretty much the same problems as the follow-up record. The first track, I've Got Something For You, is a pretty cool rock and roll track and it has that nice old school vibe.
Come with me, let's play the game of baby. I got something for you.
But that's it. It's a very average, very uninspired blues rock in my opinion. Like for example, Love Is Enough, that first line in the chorus, Forever Young, anyone? I mean the song. So even if you are fans of this group, you can skip these 2 records in my opinion. Let's move on. At number 11 I have Back to the Rhythm from 2007. This was seen at that time as a sort of a comeback album from band, as they have released this album after 8 years. And this is actually not a bad album, it's by no means great. I would say it's an okay album that has some moments. First thing that you will probably notice is a little wear and tear of Jack Russell's voice, but there are some cool songs. Maybe the one that kind of stands out is Play On, that has very 80s atmosphere with those keys in the chorus.
Play on, sing a song, let your melody wash up the day. Play on, I'll sing along.
But for example, Still Hungry is a song that reminds me a lot of the song Hungry from Winger. They should have been a little more careful with this chorus. Also, there's a cover. This is kind of a thing for Great White. They had a cover almost on all of their records. Like 1, 2, sometimes 3 covers. Here it's 30 Days in a Hole, which is a song I heard only from Mr. Big previously. It's a pretty cool track. So generally not a bad album, but nothing really to make it stand out. At number 10 I have Sail Away from 1994. This is a 2-CD version. The second CD includes a live concert, even though it's not put on a CD in its entirety. There are a couple of tracks that were used as a bonus tracks for Japan. I think it's kind of stupid if you put a concert on a disc. Let's put the whole concert there, not just like 3/4 of it or whatever. Originally this 2-CD version with a live bonus disc was supposed to be a deluxe version, but unfortunately the record was so unsuccessful in terms of the sales that the 2-CD version was the only one that got into the stores. But let's not talk about the live disc, let's talk about the actual album Sail Away. And this album might have come as a sort of a strange offering from the band, because this is essentially an acoustic album. In my opinion, Great White were always great at writing slow acoustic ballads and bluesy songs, and this record kind of proves that they probably wrote more songs than they needed for a record. And therefore this album is pretty much acoustic record. Majority of the songs are actually ballads and slow songs, and very good ones actually. The only 2 songs that are slightly more up-tempo and reminiscent of the rock and roll and hard rock of the previous records are Mama Don't Stop and Living in the USA, which is really great with that saxophone solo. And the rest, pretty decent ballads. This is a very chilling album. For example, the title track Sail Away is a very artistic song. My personal favorite is Gone with the Wind. It's a beautiful ballad, and that sax, man, that saxophone is just the best. There's also one cover, If I Ever Saw a Good Thing, slightly more mellow, and that saxophone at the end again creates a very, very nice atmosphere. So, in case you become a fan of Great White and you'll find yourself enjoying the more tender side of this band, this is definitely a record I would investigate in. Of course, if you have never listened to this band, then this is quite obviously not a good starting point. Number 9, Rising from 2009. This was the last album with Jack Russell behind the mic, and I honestly think that Rising is a pretty decent album. For example, it opens up with a pretty catchy song, Situation, but it's the second song that got my attention, All or Nothing, that has a very 60s kind of atmosphere, especially in the chorus, and those Beatlesque vocals. This is like a new thing, new sound, a new style for Great White, which is pretty impressive considering how long they've been at the scene at that time. Also, I Don't Mind as a track is almost a surf rock track. Then you've got Funky Shine, then very groovy Down on a Level with some horn section, which is also cool.
Let it ride, keep it right down on the level. keep it down on the level, yeah. Down on the level.
And pretty much the middle of the record reminds me a lot of the album Can't Get There From Here, so we got that same sort of a blend of southern rock and blues rock. There's also one pretty heavy rock song, Danger Zone. So yeah, this is generally a pretty good album. At number 8 I have Great White's self-titled debut album from 1984. At this point Great White were pretty much an 80s metal band. And I just have soft spot for these bands like the early Red stuff, Dokken, Icon and stuff like that. And this album pretty much follows that trend. There are, especially lyrically, it's a very face-palming record, but there are some really great tracks. I love Out of the Night, Bad Boys, On Your Knees, Street Killer, Nightmares, and my personal favorite is Hold On. I just love that 80s kind of night atmosphere that only these 80s American metal bands were able to create. I think that this is definitely an album worth checking out, and it's interesting to see that they essentially started as a metal band. At number 7 I have Hooked from 1991. This is one of the first classic Great White records, and I think that this is the most rock and roll they've ever been. Just listen to the songs like Call It Rock and Roll, The Original Queen of Sheba, or Can't Shake It. I also like some of those more old school sounding blues tracks, like for example Congo Square, which is pretty nice in terms of dynamics and I love that Hammond, but South Bay City is a very cool song. It sounds like some blues song from 50s, and you even hear dog barking, so it's a very interesting song. And there are two beautiful ballads. Loving Kind, based on the piano, is just amazing. And there's a cover, Afterglow, which is just fantastic, chilling song. Personally, a much better version than the original. And this is one of the records from Great White that have a very night but winter-like atmosphere. The only song that kind of feels out of place is one of the singles, Desert Moon, which is very much in a style of hard rock, but it is very different from the rest of the record, but an okay song nevertheless. This is a good album, this is a pretty good album.